cock that up.
Why?
Church of the Sea. Hello, welcome to another vlog. Today I'm back at the Church in the Sea, but I'm with my family. So I've got my daughter here who's going to take her very first landscape photograph, and we're going to have a bit of a master class, so it might be a bit of fun. So this is my daughter Holly, who has got herself a decent DSLR. Say hello, Holly.
Hi.
And what sort of camera have you got?
I've got a Nikkor D5600.
Perfect. What a good choice.
Thanks.
Who gave you that advice?
Oh, it's some really good photographer I know.
Okay, so the first thing you want to do, you've decided that the church is your subject. The next thing to do is decide how you're going to compose the picture. So without the camera on the tripod, you need to be looking through the viewfinder or live view and move around this area and try and find something that you think is the best possible composition, and then we'll have a chat through what you've found. This is your initial composition, and you like all of the seaweed on these rocks in the foreground.
Yeah, that's fantastic with the sun hitting it now.
Okay, so what's your feeling about whether you want sky or rock? You were just asking me about that.
Yeah, I can't decide which one I want to focus on more, because I like the idea of having the church off-centred and more so to the bottom right-hand corner. But the detail in this rock that's covered in that beautiful green moss, I really want to capture. So
okay. So one of the most basic composition suggestions for this sort of thing is to have your major dividing lines on a third in the frame. If you imagine a third down from the top and a third up from the bottom. So since you're particularly interested in the foreground, it might make sense to have the horizon line up in the frame a little bit, so that you're otherwise, that's it, you got it. Now can you see how much difference that makes with the foreground?
I just don't want to lose the silhouette of the mountains.
Okay, so we could maybe then zoom out a little bit, come out to maybe about 24mm. Do you like that?
Love that.
Okay.
In fact, I'd probably just angle this church slightly.
Oh, you're putting it even more off to the side?
Yeah. Yeah, just so that again you've just got a little bit more of the silhouette of the mountains.
You really like the mountains,
I really
don't you?
do like the mountains.
Okay. The problem is, when we've taken the photograph, of course, they are going to be pretty small. It's you know, that almost is a separate composition in itself, and the star of the show for this particular photograph is, of course, the church. So if you had it there, exactly. So you've now got the church a third in from the right.
Yeah.
And you've got
2/3 up.
Exactly. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
Brilliant. So what we'll do now is actually set up the exposure and the any filters we might need. So that's the next stage. So nothing from me today. This is all about Holly and helping her get to grips with her DSLR. She's been using it for about the last 6-9 months, something like that, to do interior shots, and she's got 6,000 Instagram followers, so she probably knows what she's doing in that respect, but she's never attempted landscape photography before, and so it's really nice to see her getting to grips with the camera and really enjoying the surroundings here. Okay, so we've got our composition sorted out, we decided that the mountains on the horizon aren't as important as we'd thought at first, because obviously the church is the star of the show. So, two things we need to do now is to sort out our exposure and our focusing. Because unlike the sort of photography that you normally do, you want it to be in focus right through the entire frame. Because normally with your interior shots, you're focusing on something and you want the background blurred out. Okay, we're in aperture priority mode. So the first thing we need to do is to dial in a much smaller aperture. You're currently at f4.2.
Yeah.
So if you turn the aperture down to, I would say, something like about f13. The reason we want to try and avoid going too small an aperture is because at that point the lens will start to drop off and it won't be as sharp.
Right.
So ideally we want to keep the aperture as big as we can, but give us the depth of field that we need. Just that mic. I'm going to be focusing about here.
Okay.
We're in this area.
Okay.
And this clump of seaweed here would make a good focusing point.
Right.
And at f13, almost certainly the entire picture will be in focus.
Okay.
So the way we focus with landscape photography is, the easiest way is to zoom right in to 100% and have it focus on that.
Great.
That's pretty sharp, isn't it?
Wow, it's amazing detail.
Now the only other thing we need to worry about is the exposure, because you've got a bright sky and a dark foreground.
Yeah.
And the way we're going to resolve that is to very simply use what's known as bracketing.
Okay.
So what this will do is it'll take a shot that's below this exposure, in other words darker, and a shot above this exposure brighter, and we can then use those three and obviously this exposure, and we can use those three exposures in post to blend them together.
Brilliant.
Using the bits we want from each exposure.
Okay.
So we're now ready to take our picture. And the way we do it to reduce camera shake is we'll just quickly use the 2-second timer, and you're ready now to take your shot.
Wow, that's so cool.
So you see, you've now got your lighter exposure, your darker, and your correct one.
Wow.
And we'll blend those together in post-processing, bring all the detail out in the foreground, but also keep those lovely shapes of
fantastic.
Clouds, etc.
I like it in the dark.
I bet you say that to all the boys. So I suppose the church in the sea isn't the worst place to take your first proper landscape photographs. We're quite lucky living in this locality. Holly's now just mucking about on the beach, taking some more shots. I don't know if she's putting into practice what she might have just learned, but it might be quite interesting, and maybe we'll have a little gallery of shots to put up. We've been really lucky with the weather as well. There's a slight breeze blowing. It's been a high spring tide, but with the detail in the sky and some really nice morning light, it's been fabulous. So I think we'll leave it at that for today. Thanks ever so much for tuning in, as always. If you're subscribed, thanks a lot. If you're not subscribed yet, why not do it now and join me next time?